hope everyone is doing well, and I hope you had a beautiful, beautiful week. I quickly wish to speak about a very common thing that I have observed a lot, and I really like how flawed this premise is when people talk about, there are big posters and it's everywhere on the social media where people are like, how to control your mind, how to control your mind, how to control your mind. The whole statement is so flawed. How can you control your mind? It's like if you try to, it's like sand. The more you try to control it, the quicker it is going to slip from your hand. Just imagine, if you are in a relationship, would you like to be controlled, or would you like to manage it, or would you like to communicate with it? Would you like to sit with it, speak with it, talk with it, figure it out, and then decide how to live with it? So I believe, instead of saying how to control your mind, we must learn how to manage our mind. Okay. And it's like, let's say you are on the road. Just imagine, if there are 10, 20 cars on the road, and if everyone is trying to control someone else's car and someone else's accelerator, brake, or clutch, do you ever think we would be ever be able to get from one place to another if you're constantly trying to control someone else's car? Or do you think we are better off taking care of the lane that we are in, taking care of the car that we are driving, and taking care of us while we are driving that automobile, and then seeing how that vehicle moves forward? So every time you say that I want to control my mind, you can't control it. You can manage it. You can make it work for you. You can make it according to you. For a lot of people, it is, the mind is the master and the body has become the slave. So they identify themselves as being addicted, or they identify themselves as being, someone who has OCD. For a lot of patients, it is very, very real, but for a lot of people, they develop it, and there is always something you can do to get out of it. It's very important that you understand the difference between addiction and attraction. It's very important that you understand the difference between being controlled or controlling something and managing something. So every time I put my focus on controlling something, I lose my power. I feel powerless. But every time I know that I can sit with it, I can communicate, I can make it work according to me. I am the master, I am not the servant, I'm not the slave. And if I can just have this internal conversation with Ankita, I know that she can manage it well. So this problem also stems from the fact that, a lot of people are too identified with themselves. So if someone doesn't like what I say, it would make me feel like, oh, but I'm perfect. How does that person not like me? Why does she not like me? Oh, I look so great. Why did they not comment on me? Why did they not validate me? And these things can just, take up a lot of space in your head, take up a lot of space in your body, and we don't feel it because it's like, you can't see it, you can't touch it, but it's there and you can just feel it. But a lot of people are disconnected, they don't feel anything. So even that communication becomes a problem. But you always have to understand, if you are constantly in a egoistic mode, if you're constantly not too identified with your personality and not identified with the real being, so as to who you are as a person, not as Ankita, not as how people see you, not as how people perceive you or expect for you to be, or how someone is supposed to behave towards me. I just have to manage my own self. So no one can make me feel a certain way, no one can point fingers at me, no one can touch my attitude or my personality until and unless I allow and I give that kind of power to someone else. So remove everyone else, just think about you. Every time you speak that, oh, but I am not disciplined, oh, but I have tried and I have failed, oh, but I can't do it, I'm not that person, I don't have that kind of money, I don't look that well. It could be anything. They are all excuses. Okay, if you really want something, don't let your mind talk you out of it. And this is one of the biggest difference when we speak about brain and mind. Your brain is what? Your hippocampus, your prefrontal cortex, your amygdala. All of these things, they are a structure of the brain. That's good. But who is driving that? There is something known as consciousness. There is something in your consciousness, there is something in my consciousness that allows me to see things in a certain way. So corona is happening to everyone, but is everyone reacting in the same way? Absolutely not. Why are we so different? you and I share the same brain structure, but our minds are different. The way we perceive a situation is different. The way I would react to a call that would probably hurt me, and the way you would react to a call that would probably hurt you, is too different, because your mind is the driver of the vehicle that is your brain. And a lot of people fail to understand this. You can't control something that is just, biologically fitted. You control your the way your heart pumps the blood? Can you control? So, like, it's related to your autonomic nervous system. It just happens. And the body is so intelligent. Just imagine if it gave us the task of breathing consciously all throughout the day, which most of us would fail to do and live. Just imagine what would have happened. It just does it knowingly, unknowingly. You don't have to be aware. It just happens. When we are sleeping, we are still breathing. Okay, we are still pumping blood. It's all happening. That is the reason it comes under the autonomic nervous system. So a lot of things are not in our control. So just putting that word, that I want to control my mind, it actually makes you powerless and not powerful. And what makes me powerful? When I say I control how I react, I control how I respond, I control what I see, I control what I read, I control what I don't want to read, I control how I want to react. It's always in my control. It's always in my power. So even if I do feel powerless, I will not repeat it to my mind. I will not let my brain or my prefrontal cortex or my amygdala, that is constantly trying to protect me, dictate me on so as to how my mind should work. Okay, so if my brain thinks that, okay, she's going to be in a problem if she does that, and just take her out of it, don't let her do it, don't let her get out of the comfort zone, I will not fall for that. My mind will walk in and I will second question that. I'll question it. I'll ask it again. No, like what is wrong if I fail? What is wrong if I'm rejected? What is wrong if I make a mistake, or if I trip? How does it matter? And my brain will tell me, it matters. People are looking at you. People will be watching you. They will make fun of you. They will talk about you behind your back. And then my mind walks in and says, yeah, that's okay. So what? So what? Let's try. Let me try. How does it matter? So it is an internal dialogue, internal conversation that takes place between the mind and brain. And for most people, their brain takes over. That is why you cannot get out of a comfort zone. That is why it is so hard for us to get out of bad habits, or even good habits for that matter. So I am addicted to eating well. Okay, I am addicted to eating well. You cannot make me eat a pizza. My brain, my body just does not recognizes that as food, so I just cannot eat it. So there is something there are actually chemicals that puts in the synapses. It's your memory. There are chemicals known as acetylcholine. It just sets thing in stone, and it makes you who you are. So every single time I wish for myself to come from a controlling, powerless situation to an empowered Ankita, I need to do it day in and day out. And that is why practicing something is so important. If you want to be good at swimming, you need to practice being a good swimmer every single day. So you practice being a swimmer and you become good eventually, because your brain will have new neural connections, your body will make new neural connections, your body will make new memories, your body will hold on to those memories, your body will generate chemicals, those chemicals will hold on to those memories and make it set in stone. It will make you powerful until it's on autopilot, until it's on remote, until it's who you are. But a lot of us fail in the transition phase of going from powerless to empowered. That's where we fail. And then we think that we are failures, and then your brain walks in and says, remember, you tried being on the diet last time and it didn't work out, so I don't think you should do it. I think you should go back to eating sugar and junk because that makes you feel good. That's what your brain is going to tell you. But that's where the mind has to walk in, come and say, no, it's okay, we tried, we failed, we'll try again, we will relentlessly try, because the end goal and the destination that we want to reach at is not what you are saying. So there's nothing to be scared about. You always have to remember that amygdala, that is the fear center, it cannot communicate with your limbs, it communicates with your eyes. So if you can see something in your brain, if you can see something in your mind as something that is scary and fearful, I can induce fear in you right now. Let's say, just take a minute, if your siblings die, if your parents die, if your lovers die, if you lose the job, if you lose the money, if you lose the house, if you lose the car, if someone gets burnt, if someone is dead, these are all terrible, horrible, disastrous things, and it can induce fear. But is it happening around you right now? No. How can you feel the fear? You can feel the fear by just imagining, because your brain, your body, your limbs, They do not have to be present in a situation for you to be fearful. That is the connection between your amygdala and your body. There is no connection. Okay, so there is connection when what I mean to say is your amygdala is more in touch with your visual senses, so more into what you are seeing. It might not be physically present, but if you can see it in your mind's eye, your brain thinks of it to be the truth, and then it will try to protect you from doing those things. So anything good or bad, for someone who is a smoker, for him to not be a smoker, it will take a task because it has been ingrained in his body and mind. Every cell of his body doesn't know who to be if it is not this. And this is the beauty. You can be whoever you want to be, good or bad, because it's always under your control. So the minute you stop seeing that I am so powerless and I don't know what to do, is the minute your body starts to change, is the minute your brain will start to respond in a positive and a better way. So the question is, do you really want to be empowered, or do you really want to just sit and crib and cry? And again, for a lot of people, sitting and cribbing and crying becomes a habit, it's a ritual. I don't know who to be if I'm not crying. I don't know who to be if I'm not fighting with him. I don't know who to be if I'm not angry, if we are not just XYZ anything, anything. We are too identified, we are too occupied with things we shouldn't be occupied with, and this is the reason every second person labels themselves as being anxious or depressed or stressed. Yes, you are. I'm not taking that away from you. We have, a lot of us have been there, but a lot of us also get out of it. You and I have the same structure, so there is something that differentiates you and me, and it most certainly can be attitude. Again, a quick disclaimer, this is not to demine or lessen someone else's pain and worry. I know depression is real, I know anxiety is real. I thought I was depressed, I was not, so it was a joke for me, and I'm speaking for myself. I was wrong, and maybe you can look into it, and maybe you are wrong too about yourself. I always say this, you're not your diagnosis. The more identified you are, the harder it is for you to heal. The more identified you are with being a girl who has PCOD, or who has hormonal imbalance, or who is emotional, the harder it is going to be for you to get better. So don't think about what you don't want. Think about what you do want and relentlessly work for it. Show up, practice every single day, and one day, not too ago, not too long from now, the body responds, the brain responds, and it always gets better. Okay? Take care.